there are battles, and then there is Stalingrad, a place where an entire city was ground into dust, where soldiers fought not for meters of land, but for single rooms, staircases and shattered factory floors, where starvation, frostbite and desperation pushed human beings beyond limits most of us can barely comprehend. This was not just another chapter of World War II. It was the moment the Nazi war machine met something it could not crush, a city that refused to die. If you're serious about understanding how wars are truly won and lost, not through speeches, but through endurance, sacrifice, and unimaginable suffering, then you're in the right place. Before we dive in, make sure you like this video, share it with fellow history enthusiasts, drop your thoughts in the comments, and subscribe for more deep dives into the most intense moments in human history. Now, let's get into why the Battle of Stalingrad became one of the bloodiest and most horrific battles ever fought. By 1942, Hitler believed the Soviet Union was on the brink of collapse. The invasion known as Operation Barbarossa had pushed deep into Soviet territory. But Germany had a problem. Oil. Without fuel, tanks stop. Aircraft sit idle. Armies freeze. The oil fields of the Caucasus became the priority. And sitting along the Volga River, a vital supply artery, was Stalingrad. Control the Volga and you strangle Soviet logistics. Capture the city bearing Stalin's name and you strike a psychological blow heard around the world. But what was meant to be a decisive strike became a grinding urban nightmare. On August 23, 1942, the German Luftwaffe unleashed one of the most devastating aerial bombardments on the Eastern Front. Entire neighbourhoods were obliterated in hours. Tens of thousands of civilians were killed in the opening days. Yet the bombing achieved the opposite of what Germany intended. The rubble became a fortress. Destroyed buildings created natural defensive positions. Soviet troops under General Vasily Chuikov adapted instantly. They embraced brutal close-quarters combat. They called it hugging the enemy, staying so close to German lines that artillery and air support became useless. Streets were no longer measured in distance. They were measured in bodies. Factories like the Red October steel plant and the tractor factory turned into miniature war zones. Control shifted by the hour. A single floor might change hands multiple times in one day. This wasn't maneuver warfare. This was survival warfare. One reason Stalingrad became so bloody was Stalin's Order Number 227. Not one step back. Retreat without authorization meant execution. Blocking detachments stood behind Soviet lines to stop deserters. This wasn't just military discipline. It was existential. The Soviet Union understood what defeat meant: occupation, extermination, enslavement. For many Red Army soldiers and civilians, surrender was not an option. They were fighting for their homeland, their families, and their survival. The Germans, meanwhile, were under strict orders from Hitler himself. The city must fall. The Sixth Army, commanded by General Friedrich Paulus, was forbidden from retreating, even when encircled. Two dictators. Two armies trapped by pride. Millions caught in between. Stalingrad was horrific because of how it was fought. Urban warfare strips away distance. Soldiers see each other's faces. They fight in basements, stairwells, sewers. Snipers ruled the ruins. One of the most famous was Vasily Zaitsev, whose duels became legendary symbols of resistance. There were no safe zones. Civilians dug trenches by day and hid in cellars by night. Food ran out quickly, water was scarce. The Volga crossings were under constant artillery fire. Winter added another layer of horror. Temperatures plunged below freezing. Frostbite crippled thousands. Wounded soldiers froze where they lay. This was combat layered with starvation, exposure, disease, and psychological collapse. In November 1942, the Red Army launched Operation Uranus. Instead of attacking the strongest German positions inside the city, they struck the weaker Romanian and Axis forces guarding the flanks. The result was, well, absolutely devastating. Within days, the German Sixth Army was surrounded. More than 200,000 troops were trapped in a shrinking pocket of ruins. Supplies had to be flown in, but the Luftwaffe simply could not deliver enough food, ammunition, or medical aid. Horses were slaughtered for meat. Soldiers burned furniture for warmth. Hitler promoted Paulus to Field Marshal in January 1943, a calculated move. No German Field Marshal had ever surrendered. The implication was clear: die before surrendering. But starvation and reality prevailed. Paulus surrendered on February 2, 1943. Of the roughly 300,000 Axis troops involved, only about 90,000 were captured alive. Fewer than 6,000 would ever return home. The scale of death was staggering. Estimates suggest over 2 million casualties, killed, wounded or captured, making it one of the deadliest battles in human history. But, numbers alone don't explain the horror. The conditions did. Starvation drove soldiers and civilians to desperate measures. Cannibalism was documented in extreme cases. Disease spread unchecked in frozen ruins. Human waste piled up in shattered buildings. Rats became a food source. Psychologically, it shattered the myth of German invincibility. For the first time, an entire German field army was destroyed. The battle was not just bloody because of bullets and bombs, it was bloody because both sides were locked in a struggle that allowed no compromise, no withdrawal, and, really, no humanity. The defeat at Stalingrad marked the beginning of the end for Nazi Germany. After February 1943, the Wehrmacht was largely on the defensive in the east. The Red Army seized the initiative and never gave it back. The battle also reshaped global perception. The Soviet Union emerged not as a collapsing state, but as a relentless military power capable of absorbing and reversing catastrophic losses. Stalingrad proved that ideology and ambition could drive nations into total annihilation. But endurance could break even the most powerful war machine. Stalingrad remains a case study in urban warfare, logistics failure, leadership arrogance, and human resilience under unimaginable stress. Military academies still analyse it. Historians still debate its turning points. For history enthusiasts, it offers something deeper, a sobering reminder of what total war truly looks like. Not maps and arrows, but hunger, ice, ruins, and people pushed beyond every limit. If you found this deep dive valuable, subscribe for more in-depth explorations into the defining battles that shaped our world. Share this with fellow history lovers and drop your thoughts in the comments. History isn't just about the past. It's about understanding the forces that shape our present.